in the back, and that is working with all of the City of Hampton's high-tech companies. So we have Rubric here that is a reactor company, but so we do that for the City of Hampton, amongst other things I know you all from, like Star Peninsula as well. But one of the things we want to do a couple of things. We want to, one, do more events that are here on the peninsula for the folks that reside on this side of the water, as opposed to us traveling through the bridge tunnel all the time. I swear that the tunnel only goes in one direction. People that live on the south side, no offense.
Hey, listen.
Don't travel this way
Try not
very
to.
often.
But we also know you're not wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We get it.
And then with that, so like, and I've worked with thousands of founders over the course of many, many years doing this. One of the things that I've noticed is that people are really, really quick to start a business, but being just super honest with everybody, like getting customers is an area that we really need to pay attention and focus on. And then everybody approaches me and they're like, Tim, I know you're an investor. How do I get money? It's like, well, you get money by getting customers and generating revenue. And you don't get money to get customers and revenue. It goes the other way. So having the opportunity to talk to Amber and Sara, they do a lot of work with 757 Collab, and I mean this wholeheartedly when I say that, like, from a mentorship standpoint, the mentees all rave about the work that they do. And so I'm super appreciative for them and their willingness to come up here and do a class. And I told them I really wanted to have a focus on how do we get founders to be focused on getting those first customers, generating that revenue. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sara and Amber so they can kick everything off. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Tim. Thank you guys so much for letting us be here. I'm Amber Hamilton. This is my amazing business partner, Sara Brown. And real quick, just a couple of business things. If you want to shoot here, we do have a worksheet. We don't do workshops where we're going to talk at you. I get very tired of hearing my own voice.
You can go to college for that.
So yeah, I can lecture it. Listen, I have 4 kids and they get plenty of TED Talks every day. So, but we also have paper copy here. So if anyone wants paper copy of this, when we get to the worksheet part, we'll go ahead and pass those out. But we are really excited to be here with you guys today. We had the opportunity of working with founders all over really the country, but we do focus here in Virginia because it's our home. And it was so great of Tim to invite us here. And we really wanted to be here because I was joking with somebody the other day that I won't even go on a date with somebody that's like on this side of the water because driving through the tunnel just feels
And we need
oppressive.
to change that.
It's just like, I'm from Baltimore originally, and I literally barely ever go home because it's either up the Eastern Shore or through the bridge tunnel. So, and I will get better at that. I know that's probably on me. But we really were thrilled to be invited and are so grateful to be here. So thanks for having us. Quick founder reality check. How many of you have a paying customer yet? You got some? Awesome. How many of you feel like you've pitched more than you have sold? Brent? This year? Yeah. Sometimes it feels like that. Yeah. So we feel this a lot, and we see this a lot, that founders, a lot of times, especially in startup ecosystems, pitching's not a bad thing, right? You need to learn how to say what you do quickly, effectively, to be able to communicate it. Pitching's how you're going to get investment money. But it's very easy to fall into we call it playing entrepreneur trap, where you kind of play the game of, I'm going to go to this pitch competition, or I need to do this. And you forget to build the business around your idea. And so then when you do go for investment, now we're seeing this shift from, 20, 30, 40 years ago.
10 years ago.
10 years ago even. It wasn't out of the realm of possibility, especially in the Silicon Valley model, for you to pitch in the morning to a VC and have a check cut later in the day.
And maybe not have sales yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they would really bet on the idea. That is shifting dramatically, especially since COVID. And so now they're asking, How many customers do you have?
What have you done?
What's your traction?
Yep.
So we want to flip that. We want to spend some time today really teaching you guys, and that's kind of the crux of what Sara and I do, is we build the business with founders around their innovation. We hopefully can make the founder journey a little less scary and a little more possible for you guys. So that's what we're going to focus on today.
And real quick, we only have an hour. Our workshops, we like to talk a lot with y'all. So sometimes they go longer. So just know this is the entry level. Like, this is just the beginning. Please ask questions. We didn't go too far in the slides because we didn't want to overload y'all with information, but we do want to be in the weeds with you. So if you have a question along the way, don't hesitate. Please ask. We will make you talk and do work. So be prepared.
Yeah. Today, you are going to leave with a few things. We're going to identify your first 10 warm leads and who you can talk to. If you already have some leads, we're going to deepen that. We're going to talk about the difference between pitching, which is important again, but also positioning. Where are you in the market? Because pitching to an investor and selling to a client are two different value props oftentimes. Drafting an outreach message that feels pretty natural. I know I've been in sales for over 20 years, and there are plenty of days where I'm like, I don't want to pick up the phone and make the call. Like, it's still hard. Sales is hard. So we're going to help you guys draft something that feels natural. It feels authentic to you. We're going to set up a quick pipeline tracker. So if you don't have a CRM yet, that's okay. A lot of times we recommend our founders wait until they have revenue before they invest in a lot of those technologies that cost money. And then we want to reframe your solution using uncertainty as the key driver. So we're going to really dig into that question of where do you reduce uncertainty for your potential client, not necessarily what problem you solve. The problem solving, you want to talk about this for a sec?
So as someone who has a lot of marketing in their background, right? I'd say that's the majority of what I've done in my career has been in the marketing world. We always hear, like, you need to pitch to your pain points, and you talk about the pain points. And yes, that works and it's fine, but I always say that's marketing 101. That's entry level. It ends up a lot of times being basic and surface level, especially if you're building something that's disruptive, that's truly innovative, or even in a crowded market. How do we say it in a way that our competitors are not saying it? Or maybe we don't have competitors yet, but you will, because the second you do something, somebody else will be like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to try and do it better. How do we stay differentiated? And we do that by moving, instead of what are we problem solving, we're reducing uncertainty. Because how do we position it so that our customers feel very certain when they go to hit buy, when they go to hit purchase? Because if they're not sure, then that's a barrier to entry for them. That's I'm not really sure. Now I got to put even more sales context on there, more page, more conversations. We have to figure out what are those trigger things for reducing uncertainty, talking to their fears, and saying, hey, we got you. We understand it. They will buy faster and they will stay around longer, which is really what we want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So real quick on the problem to versus uncertainty, I'm a big neuroscience nerd. And so the neuroscience behind this, even when we're talking about, and a lot of our founders get stuck on this question. So if I was like, what's the problem you're solving, Leland? Quick, the one problem you're solving multiple problems, really, right? What's the one problem you're solving, Bashir?
Prashant, yeah.
Yeah, Prashant.
We're making sure things get done, and you as a manager know that it's done, and you have a way to track that across your stores.
Yep. So you just solve 3 problems, right? And we get that a lot. People are like, no, you have to niche down. What's the problem? The one problem you're solving. Most of our founders and most businesses have their solution can solve multiple problems, but typically you're reducing 1 or 2 uncertainties. What's uncertain? What's the conversation that people are having that's keeping them up at night? What are they worried about? What's the conversation they're quietly having so that their kids don't hear?
Because if they weren't uncertain about it, it wouldn't be in the market, right? I always say when we're building out ideal client profiles, one of the big things I like to identify per client profile is what is the opportunity or the event that happened that made them go into the market. Because they don't just walk along and all of a sudden one day decide that they need to redo the way that they do their task management or redo the way that they're going to buy their house, there is an experience, there's something that's happened that you'll find is a common denominator among a lot of your customers, and you need to identify what that is, and we speak to that because it made them uncertain. It made them not feel very secure in what they were doing and wanting to change it.
Yeah. So a few examples of this.
Hold on.
We also,
Yeah.
all right. So we'll hear this a lot too. We offer real-time business dashboards. Okay, but like, what does that mean?
Doesn't tell me anything.
So what we really want to say is we eliminate guesswork so your team can make decisions with confidence, not assumptions. Cybersecurity, we monitor your cloud environment for threats. I honestly, when like they were like, but the Chinese are listening in on your I don't care.
Well, not to mention, that's what all cybersecurity people are
Right?
doing.
Yeah, it's like
Everyone does that.
I got nothing to hide, you know? We eliminate sleepless nights over data breaches by flagging threats before they become disasters, right? Because there are people at this level that know probably it's a big deal if somebody broke into my phone. So we're going to play our first activity, and it's going to be super fun. We're calling it Jargon to Juice.
Anyone seen
You got to say the juice.
Encino Man?
Anyone seen Encino
Yeah, we use
Man?
the juice.
Am I dating myself?
I think
Thank you.
I think it's wrong.
You
I
gotta
understood
wheeze
it.
the juice. This is a great movie. If you haven't seen it, go home and watch it. Encino Man is the good old Pauly Shore movie. One of my
It's
favorite.
hilarious.
We were talking about this yesterday. I said, you gotta wheeze the juice, man.
You gotta make a sound effect to make it more.
Yeah.
That's what you're missing.
Yeah.
Sound effect.
Yep. Yeah, and just so you know too, like these are things that Sara and I also wrestle with, right? Like we didn't just all of a sudden magically wake up one day and like could totally communicate what we do and had a clear offering. Like we've been in this alongside of our founders for a while.
Yeah.
And even
we
when
have to sell too.
yeah. And even when people ask us like, hey, what do you do? I'm like, oh my gosh, we do so much, right? We have like these kind of buckets and we played around and it's like at the end of the day, we build the business around innovation. Or we make the founder journey a little less scary and a little more possible. We try and build our language around tackling the uncertainty that our clients feel.
All right.
Okay.
So to do this, we're going to jump off with step 1, jargon dump. Okay. I want you to write down what you usually say. I don't want you to overthink it. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just put it down. All the things that you would use to describe what you're doing and what you're building. List it. And then whoever wants to be brave gets to raise their hand and share it with the class. I'm like, how many pages is there?
You need to have background music.
I know, I was just thinking that. Start adding that onto the slides.
Next time. I know. I know.
There's no this is the jargon. This is your brain dump. You get to put it all there. There's no wrong answers. It is just let it flow.
And again, the jargon's not wrong. Like, don't feel
Right.
You know, it is your industry speak, right?
It also
It's
usually just takes way too much room on a sales page.
yeah.
Like realistically, from a design perspective, you put all that on the front page of your website, I go, oh no. You know?
But it is the language that people in your industry understand.
Yeah.
So, yeah, typically. All right, anyone feeling brave? Want to give us a little jargon? Yeah. Oh, you're good.
We create holistic programming that cultivates sustainable, healthy lifestyle habits.
Okay. I love that. With you, I'm going to go to step 2, and y'all follow along. So step 2. So keeping all of that in mind, we have it broken down into they don't know, trust, believe that, they feel stuck because, but what's the why? Why did you even start this?
Personal history, lived experience.
Okay. Why was it a problem?
Because had I kept on the way that I was, I would have died due to some quote unquote hereditary circumstance.
Okay. And why isn't this already being fixed?
Because it's too much money keeping it going.
Okay. And why can't people just fix it on their own? Why do they need you?
Because I have gone through the word that means elevation. I can't think now.
Journey, transformation.
Correct, all of those.
Yeah.
All of those. To find the actual patterns and where we fail. So,
Okay.
You know.
So now let's take, because you've been your customer, what is it that you didn't trust or believe at the time that made you find another solution?
The healthcare system.
Fair. Okay. Why?
Personal history and then cultural history.
Okay. Write those down. And then what made you feel stuck within that? I know that there's a lot of layers here, but
Yeah, lack of representation.
okay, there you go.
So the fog is people feel uncertain about their ability to get good health care. Maybe
Probably
due to,
unheard.
they don't feel heard. But the uncertainty, the thing keeping them up at night is a lack of access?
Access, resources, support.
Who's next?
We deliver a multi-channel marketing platform to engage and sell to your ideal customer.
Okay, I'm gonna say this, and I don't mean it in a rude way. As everybody else who has multi-channel marketing does, right? So, what is the uncertainty that you're fixing? Let's do the next one. That's like, there's no wrong answer. I'm saying this because I want you to go that much deeper. So, a lot of people can claim that and say that, right? So, what is it that you do? What is now that your customer can't trust, believe with the solutions that are already out there? What is it that they're still uncertain about that you would fix?
I classify, I would say, like getting to know your ideal customer, like truly engaging and understanding what drives them and why they like your offering. And,
Okay.
And how to keep them coming back.
So they unsure about their customers or who their customer is? Okay. All right. And then why did they feel stuck?
Because the current competition or ways to do it is essentially a money suck where you don't have any control over the output as much as you think. I don't think I'm saying that right.
No,
it's okay.
You're on
Brain
to the
dump
thing.
it.
You're on
Yeah.
to the thing that I wanted to hear. Yes, yes. So the fog for them is not just multi-channel marketing, right? It's like, why do we need multi-channel marketing? Because they need to get to know who it is that is going to buy, right? And then they need to know how they can do this with a realistic budget, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that's the main pain point I've discovered is that people think if you just keep throwing money at it from a marketing perspective that it will drive your results that you need, and that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
It's really finding the ideal person, nurturing that relationship, and then finding entry points to have them re-engage with your offering naturally, which will spur the growth that you need organically.
Yeah, I mean, when my marketing agency, the number one way we got money is one person came to me and said, I'd spent $20,000 on ad spend in Google and didn't get anything from it. And I was like, what could I do with a third of that money? Right? And that referral, that became like a thing what I would say in all of my networking things was like, if you spent money on ad spend and you're really not sure how it's working, you know. So that right there, that fog, I want hold on to that, okay? Before we go to the next. Is anyone else want to go?
So we expedite the advanced sensing and cloud deployment process.
Okay. I have to be honest, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, but I love your product because I was asking you a few questions before we started. So,
But we're going to get to it. We're going to get to it. I get it, right? But what is it that your customer is having a problem with?
Based on their sensor technology, the process varies.
Okay.
But the steps across all sensing technologies, they share the same fundamental steps.
Okay.
And so most people don't know how to choose the correct sensing for their application.
Right.
And then you add on
No, you're getting there. No, I'm pointing because yes, please keep going.
and the certifications associated with the one, depending on who you're dealing with, whether it's industry, the government, that's a whole different issue. The capital that is needed, depending on your industry, that's a whole different issue. It's just layers upon layers of issues that are associated with that process.
All right. So what is, and there are other people trying to solve this, I'm sure. But what is it that the current system is not giving them that they can't trust it?
The expedited process.
Okay, say that in another way.
A process that is unique to that person for their application.
Okay, so they don't feel like it's meeting their needs. Okay.
But Frank, tell me if I understand your product correctly, because you have a sensor that goes into lights that can detect chemicals and differentiate, where that is not technology that's really necessarily available right now.
It's available, but what it takes to make it available is it's extensive.
Right. So, and because it can detect different types of chemicals or outputs in the air, and it can respond accordingly, why do we even have sensors in buildings or in lights?
Well, let me make it a little more clear, because I don't think I'm communicating it correctly. What it takes for a system to do, one device can do when you couple that technology with artificial intelligence.
Okay.
So imagine a room with 4 devices being one device as a result of where we are at in industry. Does that make like?
Yeah. Well, who's your customer? Who's buying?
Industrial, it would be industrial applications. It could be plants.
Okay.
Residential.
Okay.
Commercial.
Right.
Anyone who.
But and the end goal is to protect people. Okay. And the end goal is to protect them better, faster, more standard.
Are we protecting
you
the
said-
residential developer, or are we protecting the resident?
Yeah.
It's the resident.
Okay.
So what is it the residential developer feels stuck on that you would be solving for them?
Well, from what he said, they're having detection problems. He didn't go into
Okay.
what types of detection problems.
That's okay.
Yeah. But they're just having detection problems. That's how they design things and systems, based on what he told me, is largely depending on the data they get from their past.
So the thing that they don't trust or believe in is the existing technology, right? Is that right or wrong? If I were to say yes? Okay. So, and they feel stuck because they, like you said, they don't have, the current systems aren't meeting the needs that their customers want, right? Okay. Anybody else?
Well, ours is a lot simpler. Okay. We teach students how to read fluently with our online step-by-step reading tutorial system.
Awesome. Why? What is it that they can't trust or they feel stuck with in the current tools that are out there?
Well, there are so many of them, and a lot of them is like automate, like cartoon-based, sort of entertaining for the kids. And so a lot of times that can take a lot of time, and it's very convoluted and not easy to just say, I need to do step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and my kid will be able to read. So what we did was simplify that and do it as if, it's a tutorial. If you were coming into a tutor, and then they would just take you through all these steps, which is what we did in person. And so now we're just converting that to online.
Is your client the parent? Like you're assisting the parent to help their children read?
Yes, we're assisting the parent. However, the parent is really not needed except just to review certain quizzes and tests that their students may do, because the tutor actually gives instructions for each lesson.
The parent is the buyer.
Yes.
So they feel stuck right now because there's all of these solutions that feel, if they can't even understand it to help their kid, how is it going to help their kid?
Yes, and the reading process is not a natural process in that, unlike speaking,
Right.
with reading, there are steps that you should take specifically to teach your kid how to read soundly.
So they feel stuck because it's harder than they think it should be.
Well, and parents may feel unequipped
I
or
feel-
that they don't have the time or
patience. My daughter is a great reader now, but not because of me. Okay,
Awesome.
I'm going to call on you because I really want to hear this from you.
Yeah, so we empower home buyers and sellers to purchase or sell homes without a realtor with our software.
Okay. What's wrong that they can't just use a realtor?
The current tech tools out there are lead gen tools for realtors, and you propagate the 6% commission.
So they feel stuck because of the 6% commission.
The lack of affordability in the options.
Okay. But there's a lot of like first-time homebuyer options and everything else like that arguably, from a layman's term, would say, well, that's fixed. So what else?
Yeah, so by removing the realtor, we actually increase their purchasing power and their ability to get more credits.
There we go. Okay. All right. That's what I want to hear. I think a little bit more. Because one, just for everybody, your customer is not everyone. And we will never accept that answer. Amazon started with books, right?
Yeah.
Now they do all the things, but you got to start somewhere. You got to get really, really good at it. And I know that your customer is not everyone, but people who are buying and selling, sometimes you're like, well, the 6% commission. I'd be like, so what? Right? How do we cut through even to the so whaters? That's the second part of what you said, I think, is going to start to cut through that. All right, you want to do step 3? I took over.
Sarah likes to take over. And do no, it's good. All right. So then now we get to the last part of what does your product help them confidently do? How do you walk them confidently into what's the transformation they experience because of your product or service?
Yeah, the uncertainty in step 2, how do you write that you're solving that?
How do you maybe make it where's the moment where your client breathes easier?
I hear it in my head, but I don't see how it comes in a sentence.
Just
okay.
write it, write down, all the words. And
that's a common thing in messaging.
Yeah.
So you throw pieces out there, and I mean, ChatGPT is great at this because you can throw the pieces at them. But start with those, and then figure out how you would fit those into a sentence afterwards.
And I want to encourage you guys too, as you're doing this, because I'm noticing, I think every single one of you have done this already, as I'm watching you, is you're waiting to come up with the perfect answer in your head before you even write down. We're not collecting these. Like, there's no grade on this later. It's okay if it's not perfect. Start saying it. I think we have, just in the year and a half that we've been incorporated together, tried out 100 different taglines. I will I've been in sales for over 20 years. Every single sales job I've had, I have tested different language and seen what lands. You cannot put a perfect product into the market. In fact, you actually have to put something so people can break it, so that you can ideate and fix it, so that you understand what the market really wants and needs and what it's asking for.
If you wait for perfection, you'll be really disappointed because it'll be perfect for you and not for the market.
So it's okay. And just, you will find that it becomes incredibly, like, something will jump out at you on the page if you just write stream of conscious. Like, this is basically what I do, and then.
Well, and also when we get into the different channels, which we're not going to today, but real quick, different channels that you're putting your messaging out on. So a website, an email, a LinkedIn, Instagram, a flyer, a presentation, a pitch. Your messaging should change slightly because your audience is changing. Your core values and who you are and why you're doing what you're doing and the transformation that you have, that part doesn't change, but how you frame it makes a difference because your customer and your audience is going to want a different frame because they're in a different situation. So don't be afraid of being able to say it multiple ways. The biggest thing is you need to be able to say it quickly. You need to hit the emotions and you need to use as few words as possible. The big difference between your description and your value prop and sales language is the extra words. For example, if this that I made up analytics platform was going to be selling, I would not allow them on their website to say, we eliminate guesswork so your team makes decisions with confidence, not assumptions, on their front page. Heck no, that's way too many words. It's too much stuff. We want to activate. We want to go quickly. So what we would say instead was, allow your team to make decisions with confidence. Avoid assumptions, right? It's the same thing, but we just shortened it. That's the difference between your email language and your sales punchline. Same thing down here. We eliminate sleepless nights over data breaches by flagging threats before they become disasters. That's great. You can say, eliminate sleepless nights, period.
Or you could say we
Flag threats before they become disasters, period.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have different ways you use the same words. When we work with clients one-on-one, the first 2 meetings that we do, these big working meetings, are only on messaging. And we build out this business playbook. The first part of it is, how many one-liners can we come up with that hit per audience segment? How many positioning statements can we come up with that hit? What is your long bio that will never exist anywhere except for on this page, but you will need bits and pieces of it for a website, for a blurb, for the bottom of an email or something like that. So this is a good time to message dump, and then you get to come back to it and refine.
And I'm going to move us a little quickly because we're at about
Sorry.
12:45. So we need to keep going because we've got to get you guys some lists. So we'll do a couple. If anyone has, like, can anyone say the juice? Squeeze the juice. Give me something. Yeah, go ahead.
It's kind of all over the place, but I have representation, relaxed compassion, and it's kind of like we help underrepresented biopic populations make it easier to understand themselves so that they can, so they never have to worry about confidently trusting the healthcare system. Something out of it.
You said, so, I don't want to go too far into it because I'm going to spend forever on this, but you did say something with the confidently trusting yourself and your health. I think that's between all of those things. Learn to confidently trust yourself with your health.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Brent.
Mine is, we help you find your customers and keep them coming back.
Ooh,
Nice.
beautiful. No notes.
Love it. Love it. Anyone else? Keep working with this and ideate it. Feel free to reach out to us as well. We can work with you. But this is the stuff that you're going to take, and this is how you're going to begin talking to your customers and your clients, because this is what you do. Again, when we're pitching to investors or we're pitching for a competition, we have to tell all of it, and we have 3 to 5 minutes to do it. And depending on the audience, it's, there's a formula to it, and we got to pack a punch, and we got to do the ask. And, when you're looking at a customer, remember, even if it's B2B, you're selling to a person. And I will die on this hill. I just did a whole LinkedIn series on hills I'll die on, and I'm telling you, this is the one. You can use automation to help you get in front of clients 100% of the time. You are selling to a person. You're never selling to a robot. You are selling to a person, whether they are the decision maker at a business, whether it's individuals, whether it's a school system, whoever it is, you have to sell to a person. And people make emotional decisions 100% of the time, even if they think they're being really logical. 100% of the time. So this isn't about manipulation, right? Your intent does matter. The difference between manipulation and altruism really at the end of the day is intent. Your intent, because you guys have incredible products, services that you genuinely want to serve the world with. Your intent is good. This is not manipulation, but you are trying to catalyze people to give you money in exchange for something that will make their life better or easier or reduce uncertainty or reduce pain. So, where do we start? How many of you are struggling with where your customers are and where they live or where they, okay. Like how do you know where they get it? almost every founder that we meet with they will ask us, how much money should we spend on ad spend? And I'm like, who's buying now? And they're like, nobody. And I'm like, $0. Do not spend $1 in ad spend until you have run down your warm leads and your warm contacts. Here's part 2, warm lead list. Your network is not just the people that you meet at a networking event. Your network is anybody and everybody that you have met in your life, do life with, I have 4 boys, stand next to on a ball field. I've spent more time on the side of a ball field or a court in my adult life than I ever thought imaginable. Some of them have become referrals for clients. So list, we're going to start with 10, but when you get home today, I want you to make this list and continue to grow it. 10 people from your warm network. Again, is it friends of, your kids' parents? Do you go to a place of worship? Is it previous coworkers? Is it people that you do know from a networking event? Is it that you really know the barista at the coffee shop that you frequent? Who is in your life that you feel comfortable enough saying to them, hey, I'm working on this. Do you happen to know somebody that could benefit from it or is in that industry that would have a 15-minute conversation with me?
This warm leads is not a sale, just to be super clear. These are not warm customers. These are truly leads. Amber said this before. It is easier to make a customer a friend than a friend a customer. It will remain true in business. Just, it feels personal. It's not, get over it, move on, right? It's a whole thing. But they tend to be your champions, right? So if you had asked me a couple of years ago, they'd be like, who do you know, Sarah? I'd be like, I don't know anybody. What are you talking about? I know no one. No one, because no one I know is buying what I'm getting. And that's not the point. It's about who they know. It's your one-to-manys, right? So you have someone in your family that happens to know somebody that might be somewhat related to your industry. And you have to get over myself and ask them, and despite the anxiety, and say, hey, can you introduce me to that person? I would like to talk to them about this topic that we both obviously care about. And you go from there. So those are your warm leads. Like for me, my mom would have been one of them because she just happened to know the people in the business building industry that I needed. I wouldn't have listed her, I think, a year ago because I go, well, I'm not going to buy. But it's not about actually who's buying yet. It's about who knows your buyers.
Yeah, my dad, I'm from Baltimore, and my dad is a pastor. And he has actually introduced me to more people and potential investors because they all come to his men's group. And so I've had conversations with people that would have never taken a cold call. Hey, Dad, do you know so-and-so? Yeah. Can you make an intro? Absolutely.
Former bosses,
Former bosses.
coworkers. Those are big ones. I always try to find out what my daughter's parents do for this exact reason. And I go, oh, we should definitely have a play date because I have something to ask you.
Right. Yeah. So again, their name, how do you know them, and why they might be a fit or a connector. And even if it's like your world adjacent, right? So if you're like probably building inspectors, Frank might be a really good, if you know building inspectors, or who does Norma partner with up in New York?
Environmental
auditors. Firefighters, municipalities, right? Like who's making the purchasing decision around your product or service? That's another question we ask you. As you're thinking about this, who and how do they make purchasing decisions? And then how do you know? Again, these do not have to be buyers. They are connectors. They are the people that are going to get you in front of the people that you need to talk to.
And Norma, so we have a client up in New York. She has a non-lithium battery. So that's really big because they don't explode. And in New York, there's a lot of regulations around you can't have lithium batteries inside your building anymore. So she started out going to building owners because those were the buyers and she couldn't get in. And she was like, they don't want to listen to me. They don't care. And somebody told her, like, that's because I don't make any decisions about what I do in my building outside of what my environmental auditor recommends. So she was like, oh. So the environmental auditor will never, ever, ever purchase, but they will be the referral system. There's a company around here which y'all might be familiar with called Braceface. If you're not, it's a braces repair kit. And you would think, great, orthodontists are going to want that. No, they really don't. They don't want to add retail. They don't want to add things to their space. But they will tell all the moms who need it to prevent having to take their kid in to get repaired in the middle of the day because they have a poking wire. So they become your referral system. So they're just as powerful as the mom who is going to buy. In fact, more so because they have the connections to more customers.
Any questions on that? All right, then we're gonna do your outreach message builder. So again, it's scary, right? Sales is scary. Asking for connections can be scary. Holding the sales call can be scary. It's scary. And it feels intimidating because, tell me if this is how a lot of you feel, because this is what feedback we hear all the time, is I'm scared to ask, like I feel bad almost asking people for money for my product. Okay, good. You know.
No.
Okay, man. Let me rephrase that. A lot of women feel bad asking people for money for their product because we have been conditioned to just be very helpful.
Does anyone feel like a pest for reaching out more than once?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can. Yeah.
No, I think maybe other founders can relate, but it feels like I'm begging you to help you.
Yes.
That's the grievance that I run into.
That's a good way to put
You're
it.
trying to just drag them up
Like
the
I'm
hill.
literally like, I know you have this problem. You said you have this problem.
Right.
I have a way to help this problem.
Yeah.
And you're not even giving me the time of day.
Right. Correct.
That's the grievance.
Yeah. That we hear that a lot too. I feel like a nag. I don't want to bother them. You're not bothering them. And if you are, oftentimes they will tell you.
And they're not your customers. So
right.
there
Yeah,
you
they
go.
may just not be the right customer. So your outreach message, this is to your connector. Hey, Susan, I'm working on, give your clarity, uncertainty reduction thing for these types of people. I think, do you know anyone who might be open to a quick chat? Again, I cannot explain to you, I have said this, and I have gotten on the phone with people who I'm like, that is hysterical. Like I reached out to one of my favorite TikTokers who is viral constantly. His name's Tim. I can never pronounce his last name. He always says like POV, and he works in New York. He's worked for Fortune 500 companies. He's freaking fantastic. I reached out to him on LinkedIn. I was like, hey, Tim, been following you for like 5 years. I love the work that you do. Would you be open to a 15-minute conversation? He was like, yes. He booked time on my calendar. I have done that all the time. I'm like, what's the worst they're going to say is no. So and a lot of times there have been several friends who have been like, hey, would you introduce me to so-and-so? And they're like, you know what, honestly, I really just don't feel comfortable doing that. Okay, great, no problem. But I asked. So spend some time on this and draft a couple of versions. Does anyone have any questions on this?
Outreach message.
Yeah, I will say if you're B2B, because we are pretty adamant about not doing ad spend or spending money on marketing until you really have some traction, because your sales are going to determine where you should spend your marketing dollars. Sara says this all the time. Your sales are your frontline investigators. And it is the daggum truth, because you will test language. When I used to work for a startup, I was selling software, and I would be in the sales meeting, and then people would be like, that is not what your website says. And I'm like, great. What did I say? And so we would do all this research, and I go back to our marketing department and I say, I use this line or this phrase. Change it there. Or I'm explaining it this way. We used to explain it this way. I tested this out. And then we slowly but surely figured out who our actual target market was because of who started buying, because of the sales that were happening. So that informed then where we spent our marketing dollars and how we did our marketing.
Has anyone done outreach messaging before? That doesn't surprise me.
I hope so.
My first job was a sales job, so
Okay.
I used to sell power
But
monitoring.
for your current,
No, because I can sell for other people a lot easier than I can sell for myself. I have to be completely honest. I have a lot more self-worth tied up into my current product, which is a problem and something you have to get over. Have anyone else done like straight up cold outreach messaging?
I did a customer discovery program.
Yeah.
So then, we had
Yeah.
Yeah. How did it go?
phenomenal. That's what kind of helped me pivot to get to where my messaging is now, to make it, like you said, so many people want, well, you gotta hone it down. I'm like, no, all of these things go together.
Right.
They work together,
Yeah.
so it helped me kind of pivot and make it make sense as a collective, as opposed to being like, let me focus on this one thing.
Well, because you can niche down to a person.
Right.
It's not always a problem, right? So people always think, oh, niche down, I'm only going to do one thing. Not necessarily. It could be you only work in one sector or one micro industry. Like you only work with superconductors. You might do 3 things for superconductors, but that's still niching down.
Yeah.
So you still did it.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Tim, were you going to say something? I feel like somebody over here was going to say something. Damn it. Okay. All right. So yeah, spend some time on this too. And again, just make the ask. Again, that's another hill I'll die on. Just make the ask. The worst somebody can say is no. And I know that might hurt your feelings. But to do really good sales, the reality is you're going to hear 50 no's for every 1 yes. That's just the nature of the beast, because people aren't ready to buy. It's not the right person. They're in a bad mood, whatever. It's not in the budget that year. So getting really comfortable with hearing no is going to be paramount to your success in doing sales, because it's also going to help you track. So now we're going to talk about, so we're tracking our data now.
This is a hill I'm going to die on.
Right.
Which is your data is operational. It used to be optional.
last
People who were
one.
ahead of the game had data. You don't have anything if you aren't tracking and you don't have data. You can't tell me why you're making that decision with your time, your resources, your money. Then you don't have anything, unfortunately. So you should be tracking everything that you can, which conversations, who you had them with, what they said, how long this thing took on your website, if there's any analytics on this page, how long someone spent on it, like all of the things, the data is there, and then you need to use it. There should be set times in your calendar. If you don't have this, please put it on your calendar for every 3 months to review your data and say, what are the numbers telling me? You may not do anything with it yet. I tend to wait 6 months to make an action change, but you need to know. You need to start informing yourself so you can pay attention and you can notice the patterns. The people who succeed right now are the ones who know their customers really well and who can do pattern recognition. Those are the top 2 things I look for in a successful CEO. Those 2 things. Because you put a product in front of that person, they're able to pivot, they can figure it out, and they can go from there. Right? Not that if you don't have those things, you're not going to be a good CEO, but you should find someone on your team who has that strength or work really hard to develop that skill, because it will allow you to adapt in the market. It will allow you to be flexible enough to pivot and to know when to pivot when you need to, because pivoting is actually a good thing, not a bad thing. All right, done. TED Talk over.
But it's when you track your sales data, so the name,
It's the next one.
Okay. Oh yeah. So at this point, some of you may or may not need to invest in a CRM. If you don't have sales yet, don't invest in a CRM unless it's like a project management tool and it's helping you as well. But definitely get a Google Sheet or a spreadsheet and start tracking these things. You want to track at least this. You can, obviously contact information as well. You can determine if you want to track if like the size of the company is important or the location, whatever is important to your business, track that information. But one of the things this will begin to do for you is help you build the cadence, especially as you develop a sales team. And if you're going to hand off to a sales team to go, hey, we know that we need to, and your marketing, we know that we have to touch 5,000 people a month to be able to get the 500 sales we need. And so that's going to inform, again, where your sales dollar goes. It's going to inform for your sales team how many calls they need to be making a week, who they need to be talking to. So this, were you say something? Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to ask, so you raised a really great point. It's actually something that speaks directly to me. I was going to say, what tools or other items can you help with that level of scale? Because you just mentioned a number of businesses like 5,000, and you're jumping from 10 people
Sure.
as a warm list, and then you have to recognize that scale. So
Yeah.
what tools or other services do you think will help with finding that?
The scale.
Yeah, the scale.
number.
Yeah.
So that's
The
a good
number.
question. So we do an exercise with most of our clients where we reverse engineer their revenue. Okay, so we did this with the accelerator. We just wrapped up, and we will take whatever your revenue goal is. Now, it does require you to get some traction, and I want to set some clear expectations. Your first level of growth is testing it. Some of you may need a pilot. Like Frank, you're probably going to need a pilot to make sure that it's safe and that your product doesn't actually accidentally blow up the building or something. Yeah. So you're going to want to pilot it. You're going to test it, but you're going to break it. Your second level is now you're going to get paying customers. So now you're working out your pricing strategy. This is still your warm lead, one-to-one. I'm banging on doors. I'm making call. Hey, who do you know? I'm going to networking events. It's a lot of boots on the ground. Because what you're doing in that phase is you're getting really, really clear about who your client or clients are and about your pricing. You're figuring out kind of if you have a product that requires like cost of goods, those kind of things. So there's a lot of that. Then as you get to that point and you go, okay, now we've made $150,000 this year. Right? Let's set realistic goals. Because again, in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, a lot of us are like, and I'm going to make $10 million a year. We had one founder, they were like, we want to make $30 million a month. And I was like, that's adorable. Like, I love that for you. I'm not mad at that, but like how, So we reverse engineer the numbers in terms of if we want to make, let's say, $500,000 a year, and we know that our pricing is this, and then we break it down. It's like, well, we got to sell to 500 people a year. And then we break that down, right? We've reverse engineered all the way down into every month. We've got to talk to,
We
we have to close whatever, I don't do
let's say
math, 50 a month.
Yeah.
And which means you need to be closing probably 10 a week, which, so we reverse engineer into that. And then we say, is that doable for where you are with the manpower you currently have, with the budget that you might have, and then we can build a marketing strategy based on those numbers of, okay, we know that our manpower can make 10 phone calls a month and work 10 to 20 deals a month, but we need to close 50. So,
And this that you're tracking here will start telling you that. So the thing I put down there was, this is how we track conversion and start building pipelines. So if you can figure out what your conversion rate is for that B&I event that you went to, right? And then you can say, oh, that one had a high conversion rate. I need to keep doing it. You can take how many people you need to close a month, add your conversion rate to it. That's how many people I need to talk to a month to then close for. That's what it is. But the getting to close starts with a revenue goal and an average ticket price. So like, let's say it's $500. I'm trying to hit $100,000. Do the math from there, get down to what that is per month, and then say, all right, my conversion rate at the entry stage, which for a lot of people, it's like 5%. That's totally fine. Do that and know, okay, well, I'm going to have to talk to 100 people this month to make this work. How am I going to do that? And this is a whole other workshop and a whole other thing that we could totally do with y'all, but those are your basic napkin numbers. That's how you get to that number. Does that help answer your question?
and then, and then when you do that bump up, you're moving from kind of that initial phase. When you go into that growth phase, it feels like you're starting all over again because
from launch to
nothing's
growth.
automated. No, you don't know where to build in the efficiencies. You're kind of going back to go forward, right? You have to do some things manually, but that's the next, and then you go, and maybe that's where you go for investment. And you say, hey Sharks, I need $5 million because X amount needs to go to hire people because we know that our sales reps can close X amount. And if we can add, this in. So that's where some of your scaling comes in is people that. All right, so we're tracking them. And then, listen, this is the last hill I'm going to die on today. Freaking follow up. follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up at least 3 times, at minimum 3 times. Okay? I know it feels like you're nagging. I promise you you're not. I promise you you're not. If you stagger your outreach, you're going to do your first email, phone call, whatever. Nope. I cannot tell you the number of founders. They're like, oh, I've reached out to 100 people. And I'm like, did you follow up? And they're like, no, nobody responded. And I'm like,
Or you
it's
follow up
buried
twice.
in somebody's inbox. Yeah. I promise you, it's buried in somebody's inbox. The majority, and this is also part of why we begin tracking, because if it takes 3 months to close a deal, because it took you 3 emails to get them on the phone, to then figure out who the decision maker is, to do the demo, to write the proposal, to do it. So now you understand how long it takes you to do a sale. Right. But you gotta follow up. You have to. And I'm gonna give you one little trick, is that if you followed up 2 or 3 times, you can send a breakup email. And the statistics around this email are pretty, I actually have ended up with a number of calls booked because people feel, they're like, oh my gosh, it was buried in my inbox. You're just gonna say, hey, I haven't heard from you. I am assuming that this is not a good time or not a good fit. If you need anything, here's my information, and maybe you leave a 1-pager. I'm attaching the 1-pager information. Please feel free to reach out. So I think the actual statistic is like 34% of the time you will get a meeting from that, because people go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You've been on my to-do list, but because you're not at a level of urgency. But then when you tap into that feeling of like, oh my gosh, they feel ignored, or I've totally.
My favorite one is when she says, at the risk of being a pest.
Yeah. Sometimes
because nobody wants to make you feel like a pest. So
yeah.
They're like, oh.
At the risk of being a pest, this is my last outreach. Let them know, set the expectation. You can reach out to me.
Pluck the heartstrings.
But
totally
follow up at least 3 times. I would like for you to follow up 4 to 5, but we're going to baby step our way into this. Okay.
Yeah. And just know, like in marketing, right, the golden number is 7. It takes somebody seeing something at least 7 times before they act.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not seeing 100% of your stuff. So keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. They need to encounter something 7 times. Like when I think about the time, how long it takes me from discovering there's a new restaurant to actually going to it, I would say probably a good 6 months to a year. Mm-hmm. Just because, oops, I meant to do that. Oh, let me send it to Amber. I sent it to Amber. Amber said, heart, that's great. And then kind of, oh, this is really good. We really need to go do this. And I tell my husband, oh, we should do that or whatever. It came up, and then I get a thing in the mail. Oh, yeah, that's right. And I get a coupon. Shoot, I really need to do this. Mm-hmm. Oh, I have a birthday coming up. I'm finally now going to go to the restaurant. It's not because I never wanted to. It's because it wasn't the right time. Mm-hmm. And with a lot of y'all, they're dealing with different budget line issues. It's also financially, they're like, oh, I don't want to make the purchase right now. Mm-hmm. Oh, I do want to make that purchase. Let's roadmap that. So it can be hard to get in front of people, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. Just know that it is normal. You are not failing. No. You are building something. You're going up a hill. It's hard. If it feels like things are on fire, congratulations. You have something that's burning. It means you built something. Yay. Okay?
It feels you hard did it. Because it is hard.
Yes,
it's hard.
It's a hard
this
thing.
Is hard. This is really hard.
It's the number one thing we always say. It is hard. Yeah. It is okay.
Yeah. All right, last thing. Here's your 30-day challenge. You are going to take that list of 10 warm leads. You're going to continue to grow it, and you're going to reach out to 5 of them a week. Every week for at least the next 30 days. I would like to see you do it 60 to 90. You will see a dramatic shift in the sales or in the market research or in just connection and networking. If you do this 5 calls a week, your goal is to book 1 sales call. If you're ready to sell, or book 1 market research call if you're still there, or book 1, hey, networking call, this is what we're working on. Just wanted to let you know we're not even ready to sell yet. Wherever you are in whatever phase you are, you're sending 5 outreach messages. Your goal is to book 1 call, and you're gonna, we want you to spend about 30 minutes a day working on this tracker. So figuring out what you need to be tracking, and then also just updating it. All of that should take you about, I think the 5 outreach messages and updating this would probably take you less than 30 minutes, honestly, as you get moving. So if you want to do more, by all means, be an overachiever, go nuts. High achiever.
Overachiever has a negative.
That's right.
You're right. High achiever.
Go get them.
But yeah, that's your goal for the next 30 days. Try it for 60, then maybe push it to 90. Let us know how it goes.
Yes.
I am telling you, you are going to see a dramatic shift in the momentum of your company. If you're selling something, the actual sales, and you're going to learn things about your ideal client and your customer that's going to blow your mind. You guys think you can do it? I believe in you.
Does anyone feel like they've done this and not gotten anywhere?
To some degree. But for me, it's a scaling, and the biggest pain point is reaching the actual decision makers.
Yep.
So the kind of stuff that I'm selling, people who are middle or certain level, they love it. They're like, oh, this is awesome. But getting to that next person to actually commit to it is the hard part. It's the gray area.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's also how you're saying it. Though if the way you're saying it lands with the middle person, what is it that you need to adjust to give to them to give to the decision maker?
Yeah. One last quick thing. We have a done in a day offering, so we would be remiss if we didn't do sales ourselves here. No, but we have done in a day. So if there's different aspects of your business that you need to work on, we're running a special right now through the end of June. And we'll work with you for 5 hours. So in terms of like, if it's your messaging, if it's your sales pipeline, if it's any of those things, we touch ops, we touch just about everything except I am not going to do your finances.
Or legal.
Or
we
legal.
legally can't do your finances or legal and don't want to.
Please reach out to us. If you're not connected to us on LinkedIn, please connect with us. And any questions before we hand it back over to Tim? All right. We'll be kind of hanging out for a little bit too, so you can grab us. Me too.
Amber, Sarah, thank you so much. My time to sell. In all seriousness though, some of you have signed up already, but on August 21st, we have the Startup World Cup, but that's going to take place on the south side. We're going to be in Virginia Beach at the Sandler Center. That is, it's a big event, everybody. This is our one time to really show the rest of the world what Virginia has to offer. So Startup World Cup, we'll have the top 10 startups in all of Virginia on one stage, one night, competing to represent Virginia in San Francisco in October. The venue holds 1,000 people. We want to fill it. So of that 1,000 people, there's going to be many, many founders. There'll be many, many people that support entrepreneurship, and there's going to be many investors. This will be a great opportunity to build out your contact list, meet some people. Innovate757.org. Go there. All the information for the World Cup is there. It's August 21st. We want to see you there. And then nominations are open for Tech Night. We're gonna do that October 7th. That's going to be in Norfolk. That is our one night that we are going to honor and recognize. It's like our own little Grammy Awards show for all the tech, innovation, and entrepreneurship for the region. We're going to recognize those people that are doing great things. Again, innovate757.org. Information about Tech Night is there. If you want any information on Reactor, come and talk to me. But Amber, Sarah, thank you so much. This was awesome. I wanted to bite my tongue. I had to bite my tongue the whole time because there's such good information, and this is just the start of the journey. Great stuff. Thank you so much.
Yes,
thank you, everybody.
Thanks for being here, guys.